This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only.
The Taliban are back in Afghanistan with a new strategy. Can NATO forces defeat the insurgents this time? Will neighbouring Pakistan pay the price in the battle between the two sides? All this and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
With all eyes focused on Iraq and Iran, the Taliban are back in Afghanistan. Pakistan's President Musharraf's strategy of seeking peace with pro-Taliban tribesmen in preference to military confrontation appears to have backfired. The Taliban are planning on using 6,000 to 10,000 militants in a spring offensive, according to Mullah Dadullah, the new charismatic Taliban spokesman. 500 suicide bombers have been recruited and are waiting to meet their creator as soon as the snow melts in the spring.
I understand the meaning of a sacrificial act. I am an educated student from a well-to-do family. I do not have psychological problems. I can complete my education and become a doctor.
NATO-led forces have recently launched a spring offensive of their own that will pitch thousands of foreign and Afghan troops against Taliban insurgents in the south of the country. This has created a well of anger amongst Afghans at civilian deaths following a spat of incidents that killed numerous bystanders. The Taliban have been emulating the insurgents in Iraq, increasing roadside bomb attacks. They have been filming their attacks and posting them on the internet using sites like the Voice of Jihad and almira.org to disseminate propaganda and claim responsibility for attacks on foreign and Afghan government forces. Faced with a mass suicide bombing campaign of the kind seen in Iraq, will NATO and the Afghan security forces cope? A bloodbath between the Taliban and coalition forces will result in far greater fallout for Pakistan, which does not have the means and capacity to secure its long and porous border with Afghanistan. Facing the onslaught by the International Security Assistance Force, ISAF, the Taliban are bound to retreat to their sanctuaries on both sides of the border, forcing the NATO-led troops into hot pursuit across the Durand Line into Pakistan tribal areas. This will further exacerbate the dilemma President Musharraf is facing. If he does the job himself, he alienates his own tribes, and if he lets the coalition forces do the killing on his own territory, he invites a dangerous political backlash at home. Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf was an ally of convenience following 9/11, and at the outset, not a bad one. He rounded up suspected terrorists and cooperated with US-led efforts to overthrow the Taliban, who held power with support from elements in the Pakistani military and secret services. Why then is he turning a blind eye on the Taliban as they smuggle arms and men back into Afghanistan? Is it because of his resentment for Hamid Karzai? Or is it because he senses that Afghanistan will eventually be abandoned by NATO and will have to deal with the Taliban, who have been getting stronger by the day? Afghanistan is a far bigger quagmire than that created by President Bush in Iraq, and not one that can be easily remedied. By the way, has anyone mentioned